A library catalogue. A library catalogue is a register of all bibliographic items found in a library. A group of libraries, such as a network of libraries at several locations. A bibliographic item can be any information entity that is considered library material, or a group of library materials, all linked from the catalogue as far as it is relevant to the catalogue and to the uses of the library. The card catalogue was a familiar sight to library users for generations, but it has been effectively replaced by the online public access catalogue. Some still refer to the online catalogue as a card catalogue. Some libraries with OPAC access still have card catalogues on site, but these are now strictly a secondary resource and are seldom updated. Many of the libraries that have retained the physical card catalogue post a sign advising the last year that the card catalogue was updated. Some libraries have eliminated the card catalogue in favor of the OPAC for the purpose of saving space for other use, such as additional shelving. The largest library catalogue in the world is the WorldCat.org Union Catalogue, managed by the non-profit library cooperative OCLC, based in Dublin, Ohio. As of January 2016, WorldCat.org has over 360 million catalog records and over 2 billion library holdings. Goal. Charles Cutter made the first explicit statement regarding the objectives of a bibliographic system in his Rules for a Printed Dictionary catalog in 1876. According to Cutter, those objectives were 1. To enable a person to find a book of which either the author, the title, the subject, the date of publication. 2. To show what the library has by a given author, on a given subject, in a given kind of literature. 3. To assist in the choice of a book as to its edition, as to its character. These objectives can still be recognized in more modern definitions formulated throughout the 20th century. 1960-61 Cutter's objectives were revised by Lubetzky and the Conference on Cataloging Principles in Paris. The latest attempt to describe a library catalog's goals and functions was made in 1998 with functional requirements for bibliographic records, which defines 4 user tasks: find, identify, select, and obtain. A catalog also serves as an inventory or bookkeeping of the library's contents. If an item is not found in the catalog, the user may continue her search at another library. Library thieves, who may be staff or regular visitors of the library, risk discovery if an item listed in the catalog is missing from the shelves. To reduce this risk, a thief may also steal the catalog card describing the item. Catalogue card. A catalogue card is an individual entry in a library catalogue. The first cards used may have been French playing cards, which, in the 1700s, were blank on one side. English inventor Francis Ronalds began using a catalogue of cards to manage his growing book collection around 1815, which has been denoted as the first practical use of the system. In the mid-1800s, Natale Battezzotti, an Italian publisher, developed a card system for booksellers in which cards represented authors, titles and subjects. Very shortly afterward, Melville Dewey and other American librarians began to champion the card catalog because of its great expandability. One of the first acts of the newly formed American Library Association in 1876 was to set standards for the size of the cards used in American libraries, thus making the manufacture and the manufacture of cabinets uniform. OCLC, long the major supplier of catalog cards to the world's libraries, printed the last one on October 1, 2015. In a physical catalog, the information about each item is on a separate card, which is placed in order in the catalog drawer depending on the type of record. Here's an example of a catalog card, which would be filed alphabetically in the author section. Arif Abdul Majid. Political structure in a changing Pakistani village by Abdul Majid Arif and Bashar Tafiz Andalib. 2nd ed. Lahore. ABC Press, 1985. XVI 367p. IL 22 cm. Includes index. ISBN 969861202. 5 types. Traditionally, there are the following types of catalogue. Author catalogue, a formal catalogue, sorted alphabetically according to the names of authors, editors, illustrators, etc. Title catalogue, a formal catalogue, sorted alphabetically according to the article of the entries. Dictionary catalogue, a catalogue in which all entries are interfiled in a single alphabetical order. This was a widespread form of card catalogue in North American libraries prior to the introduction of the computer-based catalogue. Keyword catalogue, a subject catalogue, sorted alphabetically according to some system of keywords. Mixed alphabetic catalogue forms. Sometimes one finds a mixed author title or an author title keyword catalogue. Systematic catalogue, a subject catalogue, sorted according to some systematic subdivision of subjects. Also called the classified catalogue. Shelf list catalogue, a formal catalogue with entries sorted in the same order as bibliographic items are shelved. This catalogue may also serve as the primary inventory for the library. History. During the early modern period, libraries were organized through the direction of the librarian in charge. There was no universal method, so some books were organized by language or book material, for example, but most scholarly libraries had recognizable categories. The first library to list titles alphabetically under each subject was the Sorbonne Library in Paris. Library catalogues originated as manuscript lists, arranged by format or in a rough alphabetical arrangement by author. Before printing, librarians had to enter new acquisitions into the margins of the catalogue list until a new one was created. Because of the nature of creating texts at this time, most catalogues were not able to keep up with new acquisitions. It was not until the printing press was well established that strict cataloguing became necessary because of the influx of printed materials. Printed catalogues, sometimes called dictionary catalogues, began to be published in the early modern period and enabled scholars outside a library to gain an idea of its contents. Copies of these in the library itself would sometimes be interleaved with blank leaves on which additions could be recorded, or bound as guard books in which slips of paper were bound in for new entries. Slips could also be kept loose in cardboard or tin boxes, stored on shelves. The first card catalogues appeared in the late 19th century after the standardization of the 5-in X3-in card for personal filing systems, enabling much more flexibility, and towards the end of the 20th century the online public access catalogue was developed. These gradually became more common as some libraries progressively abandoned such other catalogue formats as paper slips and guard books. The beginning of the Library of Congress's catalogue card service in 1911 led to the use of these cards in the majority of American libraries. An equivalent scheme in the United Kingdom was operated by the British National Bibliography from 1956 and was subscribed to by many public and other libraries. c. 7th century BCE, the Assyrian king Ashurbanipal established a royal library at Nineveh, off of the Tigris River. His 30,000 clay tablets were organized according to shape, and they were separated by content into different rooms. This library had one of the first catalogues. c. 3rd century BCE, Pinax by Callimachus at the Library of Alexandria was arguably the first library catalogue. 9th century, libraries of Carolingian schools and monasteries employ library catalogue system to organize and loan out books. c. 10th century. The Persian city of Shiraz's library had over 300 rooms and detailed catalogues to help locate texts, which covered every topic. c. 1246. Library at Amiens Cathedral in France uses call numbers associated with the location of books. c. 1542 to 1605. The Mughal Emperor Akbar was a warrior, sportsman, and famous cataloguer. He organized a catalogue of the imperial library's 24,000 texts, and he did most of the classifying himself. 1595. Nomenclature of Leiden University Library appears, the first printed catalogue of an institutional library. 1674. Thomas Hyde's Catalogue for the Bodleian Library. 1791. The French Cataloguing Code of 1791. 1815. Thomas Jefferson sells his personal library to U.S. government to establish the Library of Congress. He had organized his library by adapting Francis Bacon's organization of knowledge, specifically using memory, reason, and imagination as his three areas, which were then broken down into 44 subdivisions. More about the early history of library catalogues has been collected in 1956 by Strout. Sorting. In a title catalogue, one can distinguish two sort orders. In the grammatical sort order, the most important word of the title is the first sort term. The importance of a word is measured by grammatical rules. For example, the first noun may be defined to be the most important word. In the mechanical sort order, the first word of the title is the first sort term. Most new catalogues use this scheme, but still include a trace of the grammatical sort order. They neglect an article at the beginning of the title. The grammatical sort order has the advantage that often, the most important word of the title is also a good keyword, and it is the word most users remember first when the memory is incomplete. However, it has the disadvantage that many elaborate grammatical rules are needed, so that only expert users may be able to search the catalogue without help from a librarian. In some catalogues, persons' names are standardized, i.e., the name of the person is always sorted in a standard form, even if it appears differently in the library material. This standardization is achieved by a process called authority control. An advantage of the authority control is that it is easier to answer question 2. On the other hand, it may be more difficult to answer question 1 if the material spells the author in a peculiar variant. For the cataloguer, it may incur much work to check whether Smith, J is Smith, John is Smith, Jack. For some works, even the title can be standardized. The technical term for this is uniform title. For example, translations and reeditions are sometimes sorted under their original title. In many catalogues, parts of the Bible are sorted under the standard name of the book they contain. The plays of William Shakespeare are another frequently cited example of the role played by a uniform title in the library catalogue. Many complications about alphabetic sorting of entries arise. Some examples. Some languages know sorting conventions that differ from the language of the catalogue. For example, some Dutch catalogues sort J as Y. Should an English catalogue follow this suit? And should a Dutch catalogue sort non-Dutch words the same way? Some titles contain numbers. For example, 2001, A Space Odyssey. Should they be sorted as numbers, or spelled out as 2001? De Balzac, Honoré Balzac, Honoré de Ortega y Gasset, José Gasset, José Ortega y. For a fuller discussion, see collation. In a subject catalogue, one has to decide on which classification system to use. The catalogue will select appropriate subject headings for the bibliographic item and a unique classification number which is used not only for identification but also for the purposes of shelving, placing items with similar subjects near one another, which aids in browsing by library users, who are thus often able to take advantage of serendipity in the search process. Online catalogs. Online cataloging, through such systems as the Dynix software developed in 1983 and used widely through the late 1990s, has greatly enhanced the usability of catalogs, thanks to the rise of MARC standards in the 1960s. Rules governing the creation of MARC catalog records include not only formal cataloging rules such as Anglo-American cataloging rules, 2nd edition, resource description and access, but also rules specific to MARC, available from both the U.S. Library of Congress and the OCLC, the Online Computer Library Center Global Cooperative which builds and maintains WorldCat. MARC was originally used to automate the creation of physical catalog cards, but its use evolved into direct access to the MARC computer files during the search process. OPACs have enhanced usability over traditional card formats because the online catalog does not need to be sorted statically. The user can choose author, title, keyword, or systematic order dynamically. Most online catalogs allow searching for any word in a title or other field, increasing the ways to find a record. Many online catalogs allow links between several variants of an author's name. The elimination of paper cards has made the information more accessible to many people with disabilities, such as the visually impaired, wheelchair users, and those who suffer from mold allergies or other paper or building-related problems. Physical storage space is considerably reduced. Updates are significantly more efficient.